Reverberations of Broken Hearts, Part 1, Boy Meets Girl. Boy knocks, girl says, come in. Girl says, you look at me the way my father looked at my mother before she slowly disappeared. Boy says, only because there's nowhere you could go that I wouldn't follow. She believes him. He opens her up until someone else's arms open faster. He disappears like the last vibration of an earthquake. His fault, her fault, mine. Earthquakes only happen over fault lines. She searches for fault lines along her own skin and eventually carves them herself. She listens to songs about how love is a battlefield but knows the word heartbreak is not a metaphor. Part 2. This girl meets a new boy. She knocks. Boy says, come in. She says, don't look at me the way my father used to look at my mother before. Boy says, but you smile like the Mona Lisa, girl. How could I do anything but stare? You entrance me. She had forgotten what it felt like to be the one entrancing. She'll dance for a while, then decide she can't let anyone open her up again. She disappears and leaves him reaching. He searches for fault lines from that day on in everyone, but he still stares at the Mona Lisa sometimes. Part 3. This boy meets a new girl. He knocks. Girl says, come in. This girl has eyes like monarch butterflies and says the Mona Lisa is her favorite painting. He says, I still can't trust that smile. She says, don't trust her, trust me, I'll sing for you. She took a breath and handed him the strings of her lungs like a child handing ribbons of helium balloons to an imaginary friend. Hopeful but dreamy, he'll dance for a while and walk away like the last vibration of an earthquake. Falling in love is not the same thing as loving. Girl listens to songs. Since you've been gone, I knew you were trouble when you walked in. But anyone who breaks a heart has felt their own bleed. Remember this. When slam doors start seismic activity and no one can measure its magnitude because no one knows how deep to go to find the root of the tremor, remember that earthquakes only happen over fault lines, but fault lines only matter during earthquakes. This is not an earthquake. This is the shaking that jolts her awake from inside and says to her, your skin never had fault lines. You were never unwanted, only unknowing of the great love already in your every new blood cell, raw and regenerating. This love is building the caterpillar's wing when it only wanted to wrap itself in old lies. She gasps for air, brings her palms to the shocked ground, and cries until her earthquake shakes her helium's lungs loose, then lets them float away from the tremor and carry their hot air, rising, breathing, hurting, singing, and so alive. She listens for the echo of the final shock. She listens for the next knock. She says, hello. She says,